TCL is a proud sponsor of the SKOR North Studios. Enjoy more of the things you love with TCL. These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
Is it just different for you now in year 8 as a vet, now with the team with so many other vets around you?
For sure, it's different because everything here is organized. You know what you're doing every night. You know where you're getting stuff into. You know the minutes you're going to play. You know your rotation. And there was a couple years like that in Minnesota where everything was, you know everything. I was with Coach Tibbs. Tibbs was very organized. Tibbs was he's very clear. He's very straightforward. That's one thing they do here. They're very straightforward. They're not going to sugarcoat nothing. There's no trick questions. So it's good.
Seems like he forgot to mention a certain coach that was also coaching him. He shouted out Tibbs.
I feel like he just cast shade upon both Saunders.
Yeah.
Like, who are his coaches here? So he said, Tom Thibodeau was organized. That guy was awesome. But then he didn't name Ryan. He didn't name Flip.
Mm-mm.
Sam Mitchell was his coach for a minute.
Boys,
a lot of shade there.
Mm-hmm.
This is the most predictable, lazy answer from a guy who doesn't care about his craft and is now perfectly situated where he should be. As Jim Pete said on the FSN telecast last night, Andrew, as a supporting player, is happy and he's fine. He's pretty good, right? But when he is asked to carry the mail, when he's asked to be the guy, he fails. And what else does he always have, you guys? He always has a reason why he failed. But it's got to be quick because he's got to get home and play his video games and do whatever else he does at home.
Why are you so anti-video game all the time?
And all the other activities.
Yeah, you don't, just because you don't like games doesn't mean you have to be all negative toward Andrew Wiggins.
Playing video games and other stuff.
Because I'm not anti-activities if you apply yourself in the activity that you're supposed to and don't make up excuses for why you failed. Last night's that press conference was as predictable as possible. A series of sideways shots from Wiggy, which my favorite part.
They're not even sideways. Like, he's just like ripping the.
But my favorite part, and it's so him, was to credit the one guy that he knows. I mean, that's it. It's just all BS. But I love how he absolves Tibbs. Like, he absolves Tibbs and essentially then throws the Saunders is. So both of them, plural, under the bus.
Yeah.
He throws Gerson, who I think the trick questions was a Gerson shot. But anyway, my God.
So
everything that you couldn't stand about him is what he did there, Phil.
This may surprise you, but I actually have a different thought on this. I think it's not a full disagreement with you, but I definitely disagree. Like, you listen to that clip and you think, oh my God, Andrew, dude, what revision? It sounds like you're saying what revisionist history to blame the system and coaches around you.
The correct response is, I'm a better fit here because I don't have to do as much.
Okay.
That's what the response should be. I didn't like being a star. I just want to be paid like one.
And by the way, he went for 23.6 rebounds, 3 blocks, 3 steals against the Wolves last night. The Wolves without Cat, without D'Lo. I mean, the storyline this week would have been even juicier if D'Lo was playing, because then we could get a comparison.
I've got some thoughts on that. But go ahead.
Sure. So first off, anyone thumping their chests over Wiggins' performance this season, and by the way, we have a YouTube channel. We have 2 YouTube channels: Purple Daily Podcast and SKOR North MN. And the SKOR North channel we just launched recently. And we're posting basically daily videos there. So if you want to check us out and see our ugly faces, is it fair to say, Declan, that the most popular video that we've posted so far, and I say popular in air quotes, the most engaging video so far is us ripping Andrew Wiggins for having 5 good games to start the season?
Yes.
And Warriors fans found that video.
Yep.
And just have gone into the comment section. They think we're idiots, which we are clearly. So the jumping off point is all these Warrior fans thumping their chests over Wiggins' performance this season. He's been unlocked. He's been unleashed. This is the Wiggins that, all right, you guys are paying max money to a role player for one. So let's get that straight. The expectation when he was in Minnesota wasn't that he would settle in as like the fourth guy who blocks a couple shots and we celebrate every time he scores 20. His time in Minnesota was he's supposed to be the dude who carries the franchise, right? So let's start with that, and that the bar for which we analyzed him for 5 years here and the bar for which Golden State is analyzing him is a different bar.
Yeah.
Their bar is, can he block a couple of shots and score some points and stand in the corner and hit some threes and like be a productive role player?
They've got Steph Curry to lead the way.
Yeah, and Draymond is a leader, and Klay
They're not
at some
hurting
point.
for alphas.
Right. So that aside, and this is where I differ in my interpretation of what I watched. I think the Wolves should be hammered for the way that Wiggins has been playing this year, because they had Wiggins for 6 seasons in which he was legitimately, statistically, one of the worst players in the NBA. And people are going to say, what do you mean he scored 20 points? He scored 20 points because they kept running him out there for like 40 minutes a night. He was, from an efficiency standpoint, win shares, player efficiency rating, anything that would measure your efficiency over the course of an NBA game and season, he was legitimately one of the worst players in the NBA. He goes to the Warriors for like 5 minutes, and he's now this quality role player that you can rely on to get some stops, all right?
Yeah.
That is a huge yet unsurprising indictment of the Minnesota Timberwolves, that he becomes a credible role player the minute he goes to a competent organization.
And we do not disagree one bit on that point. What I'm saying is the reality for Andrew should be to say exactly that, which is, I don't have to do much here.
He
this is
did,
great.
Though, then he's like, well, they have great structure here.
Right. But just admit I was a disappointment. I got a max contract and robbed you. Like he is robbing Golden State financially, but if he didn't make as much, then he's fine, right?
You know, Glenn, in that conversation Glenn had with him in terms of the money that he robbed from Minnesota, Glenn sat down and said, I'm going to look you in the eye. I want you to tell me, eye contact, face to face, that you're worth this money. He should have done that, but with like role player in mind. Instead of 30 million, how about 12? Well,
that's right. He should have
to be a role player.
They should have told him, we will pay you X amount and not $1 more, because that's what you are. But by the way, I didn't look this up. Statistically, was our guy great with Tibbs? Like since Tibbs was the same, but I mean, since Tibbs was Arbach or Wooden, I want to know like the stats. Tibbs must have been clamoring to get this guy for the Knicks because he was so good with Tibbs, according to him, because the structure was there.
Wiggs makes it sound like it was a Phil Jackson Kobe partnership.
Yes. Me and Tibbs were tight, we're thick as thieves, and then they canned his ass, and now I was stuck with this kid who didn't know what he was doing with me.
Oh my God. The other thing too, like just to lump both these guys into the same discussion here, the other thing that happened last night in a 16-point loss, granted, Zach LaVine had his 8th 30-point game of the season. His 8th 30-point game of the season. He scored 30 points last night on 11 of 19 shooting, 6 of 10 from 3. They did lose by 16 to the Celtics. And so, like, in terms of the indictment on the Wolves, Zach LaVine going off, having a career season. Wiggins, you could say, is having a career season in terms of just being an efficient, quality role player, low bar. Jimmy Butler, in the bubble 4 months ago, almost single-handedly won the NBA Finals for a shorthanded Heat team. And I think what frustrates me the most is, like, I am frustrated in the way that you are, and Andrew always has, like, a reason for why he never has become what people thought he would. But my biggest frustration today is that you get these talented dudes in your ecosystem, Wiggins, LaVine, Butler, and they all short circuit and fail in your ecosystem. And then the minute they go somewhere else, it took LaVine a minute because he tore his knee. But like once he got healthy,
and Butler too.
But the minute they go somewhere else, it's like, boom, take off. They get to another level in their career. He had to go
to Philly and then to the Heat.
Okay, so
he had
a pit stop, but
he had to get the team that he saw as being his team or his ideal
But
team.
my main point is, like, the Wolves have zero chance to maximize. And this includes Kevin Garnett, by the way, because Kevin Garnett had to go somewhere else to maximize his talent as a champion. In 30 years, they bring these dudes in, and they have zero chance to see their peak potential through, and that pisses me off. So I'm mad at Wiggins too for just being like,
I'm not
Tibbs
mad.
was great.
I just want the truth, and I do think that in the case of
You can't handle the
You
truth.
can't handle the truth.
That's the sad thing is I can, because it's the Wolves. In the case of LaVine, I think if he had stayed here, he would have developed very well. Unfortunately, with Andrew, I don't think that was the case, and I do think in Golden State he'll decline. I just don't think he cares enough. I never saw.
I don't know. I think this is who I think we're seeing what he's capable of, which is not leading a team.
I have a weird.
I don't think he declines off this. I think they've got him to stop taking some of these idiot shots that he took in Minnesota.
I have a weird
years.
feeling though. He's so disengaged, and he doesn't really like basketball. I got a weird feeling that he can be a role player who is effective, and he can stuff the stat sheet at times. So I'm not going to be shocked if the stats continue. But I think as far as this whole thing of, oh man, have they unlocked? He's unlocked. Okay, there's nothing in the house. There's no furniture. There's no food. That's him. But yeah, I mean, it's maddening. And here is the most frightening thing to me, and because I watched that entire game last night, the most frightening thing to me about this is, and it's clearly without Cat playing, so it might change then, Phil. But I can't tell you, and they lost by 16. And as much as God bless them, Dave Benz was trying to will us to believe that, the Wolves at one point, he said the Wolves are within 13. They got it down to 13.
Oh my God.
I mean, you're playing in San Francisco. You got no chance. But as much as he tried to will us to believe that they're not down by 20, so that's good. Without Cat, and way more importantly, because I'm not indicting Cat completely at all here, just to be clear, but I am D'Lo. They are a far more fun team to watch that's executing what the coaching staff and what the team wants when D'Lo's not playing. Like his style, Phil, his style alone does not fit what this team wants to do at all. And with Ricky and McLaughlin as your 2 point guards, they run a scheme and an offense that is far more engaging than what they do when their supposed second star player is playing.
I agree that like they have moved the ball around and things have become much less stagnant. Now they're also just still getting, like, they got their asses kicked last night.
Right.
Yes,
you are correct.
But I hate to be scapegoat guy here, but like I can't judge D'Lo fully until he plays more than 5 games with Karl-Anthony Towns. Because the plan wasn't bring D'Lo in and then run him off screens with Naz Reid, and like the plan was he's a I'm not gonna say proficient, like he's a good pick and roll player. And if you dig into some of the metrics the last couple of years, or going back to his time in Brooklyn, he averaged like 11 to 12 points per game off pick and roll with Brooklyn. And in a small sample size, the Wolves have run some pick and roll with him, but like the vision is pick and roll game. That's D'Lo's strength, with Karl-Anthony Towns, who could be one of the great pick and roll screen men who can pop a 3 or roll the hoop, right? And they've only been able to implement that 5 games. So like, I agree with Cat out. This thing actually looks like it moves better without D'Lo, but with Cat in and D'Lo in,
right,
I still believe in the potential. I don't know if I believe in the potential as like Batman Robin championships in 3 years. But it's so hard to judge. Like, it's so frustrating because they should look better than they do with D'Lo and no Cat.
That's my problem.
But the vision is D'Lo and Cat.
It is.
So
it is, but I would like to see it. But if Cat can't play, I'd like to see it not just fall apart. And it feels like if Cat can't play and D'Lo plays, it's like, too bad.
Yeah. Now that's
not a good thing.
Is it like a thigh contusion or something for D'Lo?
They called it a quad contusion, which they said he suffered against the Hawks on Friday, and then he sat out on Saturday. What's curious about the whole thing, though, is that initially on Saturday afternoon, when they said he wasn't going to play against the Pelicans, they listed it as rest. So that's where like people like me freaked out. You're like, he played 21 minutes last night and he's resting, and then they came back on Sunday and said, oh no, on second thought, it's a quad contusion.
Is there a chance that they just want to avoid the whole Warriors D'Lo Wiggins thing this week?
There's a chance that it's odd, to your point. There's a chance that it's very odd that you wouldn't have just come out and said quad contusion on Saturday if it was a quad contusion.
Yeah. I hope it's not, we just want to avoid this whole, like, the whole Wiggins D'Lo trade comparison thing. Like, I don't think it's that. I buy that there's an injury here. I hope it's not that. Because if it's me, and I don't know how bad his injury is, but, like, I would want to get out there and show, no, like, those guys made, I know I was only there for, like, those 7 minutes, but, like, those guys made a huge mistake by trading me. I am a franchise guard, and I'm going to show you with or without Cat why I'm a franchise guard. Like, absolutely. And again, if he's injured, he's injured. So I'm not sitting here and trying to question his toughness, but, like, I hope it's not that. The way that they laid out the injury report and they sort of started, it feels fishy.
Yes, and I'm curious if it doesn't involve the Golden State concern and it involves what you were talking about, which is getting Cat back with him. Like, they look so bad without Cat and with him. I can't tell you from the eye test, like, last night was a 16-point loss, and it's a bad loss. For lack of a better description, gents, they look like they cared. The last time I saw them play with D'Lo, which was on Friday night against the Hawks, they look like they didn't give a damn. Like, that's concerning. And I'm curious if they are privately trying to get to what you're talking about, Phil, which is Cat and D'Lo have played 5 games together. We need to get them back at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm just, it does seem weird that you wouldn't have just come out on Saturday and said quad contusion, that you avoided that and then basically rethought it.
I think, however you feel about the D'Lo thing, I think they're just attached to him now. So his contract, he makes $28 million this year, $30 million next year, 31. So call it $30 million on average through 2023. So for sure next season and then the season after. And I don't think at this point, you're going to be able to get like a first round pick for him. So not that he's untradeable, because once his contract becomes a dead money, once it becomes like an expiring contract, it actually becomes valuable.
And Cat wants him here.
But like we need to see Cat and D'Lo on the court here. Okay. Like, it's literally been a year since they made that trade.
And they played 5 games together so far.
We need to see these guys together.
5 games together.
Yeah. So that's the Timberwolves. And again, that YouTube channel, if you're a Warriors fan and you just hate us, you're welcome to go into some of our other videos on youtube.com/SKOR.
And don't forget, Tibbs was the key.
Tibbs.
I want to add,
organized Tibbs.
If you're a Warriors fan, you might also be a San Francisco 49ers fan. You can check out our Kirk Cousins to the 49ers trade videos on youtube.com/Purple Daily Podcast.